How's it going, folks? It's George from the Realmcast. We're here at the San Diego Comic-Con 2013 for the premiere of Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, the latest incarnation of the DC Animated franchise. We're actually going to be going from here into the New 52, presumably, but we'll wait and see what happens at the panel for the premiere of the movie tonight at Comic-Con. In the meantime, enjoy some interviews from the show. Got some of the great stars and cast, including Sam Daly, son of Tim Daly, this time taking over the role of Superman, along with C. Thomas Howell and a few other people. Check it out. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here at Comic-Con 2013 at the premiere of the Justice League Flashpoint Paradox with the director of said movie, Jay Oliva.
Yes.
Okay. I butchered it horribly last time.
Okay, everybody says Oliva or Olivia, but it's Oliva.
It's everyone. Your name gives everyone dyslexia. That is not a knock on you. It's just your name looks really odd.
It's okay. Kevin Smith always calls me Oliva anyways, and it's Kevin Smith, so I'm like, all right, Kevin, whatever you want to call me is cool.
And the man has been praising your work lately, too.
I'm just very fortunate. He's a big fan of what we do at the DC Universe.
Hey, man, you've been rocking it pretty hard. You're coming off the Dark Knight Returns 1 and 2. That's a feat for just about anybody.
Yes.
And now you're doing the last, or old school, if you will, DC book. Can you talk about adapting that into, going in, just adapting in general?
One of the things that I always try to do is I do a lot of research. So if for example, I never read the Flashpoint Paradox before this, and so when they said, hey, this is going to be the next movie that we're going to work on, I do a lot of research. So I read it all. I try to read as much of the crossover comics. I think there was like 30 plus of them. And then what I did is I would even go into the forums and try to see what fans were saying about it, what they loved, what they hated. Sometimes you'd be surprised with one of the things that they loved was only on like one panel. And so I was like, okay, how do I interject that into the script? What do I think fits the story that Jim Krieg had written, and try to come up with a kind of very cohesive, organic way of telling the story that is very epic in scope. And honestly, we could probably do it in 2 parts or 3 parts, but I think what Jim came up with and what we all came up with is a good kind of streamlining of that kind of crossover event.
Especially considering that it ended on such possibly one of the most emotional notes in like comic book history.
Oh yeah, and that was the one thing I wanted to always try to keep through is keep the heart of it, like keep the through story of why Barry Allen is doing what he's doing, and of course among all the action and big explosion stuff, but at the very heart of it, like there's something that the audience has to empathize with, and we try to keep that as a through story all the way through.
That's great. So you're going to be bleeding DC for a long time, hopefully?
As long as they keep me employed, I'll stick around. I mean, I love the DC Universe. I think, doing superheroes is probably one of the best jobs ever. And as soon as they tell me what the next project is, I'm like, that's cool. It sounds great. I'm always excited.
Well, awesome, man. We hope you keep doing it, man. Thank you very much. Once again, I'm here at Comic-Con 2013 for the Justice League Flashpoint Paradox premiere. I'm here with character designer Phil Barraza. Phil, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So you're coming off Young Justice, yes, a very beloved show, coming into what some would say is the big leagues now with the direct-to-video movies.
I've done a few of them, so yeah, I think they're all the big leagues.
Now you have actually one of the most difficult jobs. You're taking pre-established work and then setting them for the animated universe. Yeah, is that how difficult of a task is that?
To as far as adapting stuff, the characters are pretty well established. I mean, you're talking about some of the most famous, popular icons ever in comic history. So yeah, I mean, the challenge is in being faithful to the traditions, but also trying to keep the characters relevant, and to be reverent of that tradition while also like pushing into new areas and trying to find something new to say about them or a new way to depict them.
Now, how much of your little, nuances are you throwing into these guys?
Anybody familiar with my work is going to recognize that, it's an evolution of my stuff, but I think, I'm always trying to incorporate something new, something more personal, something that's, like from my particular sort of school of thought. But it's throughout the work, but I never let that sort of undermine the themes of the characters,
You're almost like a comic Bob Ross. You're taking a beautiful landscape and you're putting your own little bush in there.
I guess so.
All right, well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here at Comic-Con 2013 for the
Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox.
Now, who better would know that than the writer of the film, Jim Creek? Jim, thank you.
That's funny. Actually, they sprang it on me late. I was like, really? That's the name? I was actually kind of happy because I wrote an episode of Ben 10 for my old friend Dwayne McDuffie called Paradox. And so I know this isn't a nod to it, but it makes me think of it every time I see it.
We were huge Dwayne McDuffie fans.
20 years I was friends with him. He's an amazing man. It's hard to come to Comic-Con now. Oh gosh, I'm bringing it down. I'm sorry.
No. Actually, no, it's great because everyone's asking us, oh, what's it like adapting? But you kind of took over his job doing this.
Oh, don't say that.
I mean, but if they came to you, who better to fill that man's shoes than?
Oh, that's
yourself? Very
sweet. I haven't thought of that at all until now. Now it's going to be hard to do the interview. You know what? You couldn't fill his shoes, but what a fantastic opportunity to even be able to write these at all, and he set the bar so high. I mean that Superman, that last Superman movie is just a heartbreak. It's just maybe the All-Star Superman is like wow, but they're all good. But so it was really fun to be able to do this. I mean it would have been great to have him around to call and get his advice, but it was a real challenge and a really interesting opportunity.
Now, to kind of bring it up a little back a little bit, cheer up. As your job adapting this stuff, I mean, what goes through your head when you're looking through the comic? What do you take the saw to? What do you fill in the cement with?
It's daunting, I got to tell you. And when I started this project, it wasn't a comic book. It was just the pages and just the pencils.
Oh wow!
So the words weren't on the pencil pages, so I had to put it together like a jigsaw puzzle.
So pretty much as they were coming, this event was being written. They were like, "We're doing this as a movie."
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, that's big.
And it was huge, and basically, it was a ton of material to take in all at once, but I think like just organically you could feel what was rising to the surface and what were the most important stories to tell. At the first blush you didn't know, but then you just organically felt like, well, that Superman story has to be in there. And honestly, I put as much as I could in, but Jay and the rest of the team did a great job of like tipping the hat to everything that didn't make it in. They were in little montages. Some of them, the Batman story told in like 7 shots, and it's heartbreaking. And I think it really gives a sort of richness to the property to know that all those stories were there and that they're just kind of boiled down to their core elements.
When they were doing this, did they tell you that this was going to be the end of the current universe and the reset? No, they just said, "Here, story, right?"
No, I think there was like a mention of it in the last comic. When in the scene with Barry and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But all it says is like essentially they're not wearing panties. I don't think it said that. But it was like their costumes are reflected. But to me, it didn't mean anything. I was so overwhelmed with having to do the whole thing that it just sounded like they had new costumes, and so I didn't think of it at all.
Well, I didn't even notice the new costume because that, for me, kind of that last bit, those last 3 panels, probably one of the best writings I've ever seen. And it's something that they knocked on Batman. Did you guys work?
I just stole that from Jeff. I lifted it completely. Anything that works, keep. And there was a lot of stuff that worked that I couldn't keep, but I just had to cut down, or change slightly. It was an embarrassment of riches. But that scene in particular. If you're noticing the change in costumes and you're not noticing the unbelievable emotional impact of Bruce Wayne getting a letter from his father, who was also Batman, there's something wrong with you. Go get help. Go see your comic book psychiatrist or psychologist.
All right. Well, you got to get to a premiere, so we will let you go. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks very much.